And we're live. Hey, everybody, you're watching my comic reviews here on the Pop Culture Network. I am Dirt, and Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm going to talk a little bit before we get started looking at some of the actual comics that came out this week about why we're doing the show this format. As most of you know, I've been doing Vine comic reviews for quite a long time, and actually, it was great. It was a fun experiment, but of course, Vine is dead. Vine is gone. You can still go in. I think you can still upload some things for now, but they're going to be cutting that off here in the next week or so. And I figured it's New Year, time to cut ties with Vine. But Vine was a brilliant social platform. And I thought I would just switch to Instagram and use Instagram instead for doing comic reviews. But Instagram really sucks in cross-pollinating your content. So real quickly, without getting too technically detailed, in Vine, you would create the video, you would upload it, you would put it in a category, and anybody who looked through that category list would see your video. And they could hit the Revine button if they liked it and revine it. They could hit the like button, and it would show up in their feed. People could see what things other people liked. If they revined it, it would show up in their personal feed. So if you went to see like what someone was looking at, it would show up in their feed and you could follow back. And so it was a really good way that I could make content and throw it on the platform, and then everybody could find it. It would cross-pollinate to other channels. So as other people liked it and shared it and whatever, it would just get in front of more eyeballs, bring people back. And, I would upload a video and I would just get hundreds and hundreds of loops on it, and it was great. So they announced that Vine was shutting down, and I thought, well, I'll just jump to Instagram. That's what everybody's doing, is jumping to Instagram. That's the thing that all the cool kids are doing. The problem is Instagram is really about people following you. Unlike even something like Twitter, where people can share it, or Facebook, where they like it and it'll show up in the feed, so-and-so likes so-and-so's post. Instagram, you put something on Instagram, it's there. Anybody who follows you can find it, but there's no way to actually put that in front of other people outside of the list. Now, I can take the link and I can put it on Facebook, or I can put it on Twitter, but it seems like at this point, almost everybody who's already following me on Twitter or looking at the posts on Facebook, like they're already going to see the content. The great thing about Vine was it was getting in front of new people, and I had new people contacting me, sending me messages, leaving comments on the videos, people I'd never seen before, never heard of before. It was just a great way to meet new people, and Instagram doesn't do that. Now, I looked at some of the other stuff. I was thinking maybe I'd go to Tout, even though nobody really uses Tout anymore, and that's become more of a commercial thing. Associated Press, Fox Sports, all of these places will have a lot of videos on there, and they can do unlimited. If you're a free person like me, I would just do it as a personal account, not set up as some sort of corporate PCN account, whatever. I'd be limited to 15 seconds. And so that, might be a little fun, but like I said, nobody uses it. And so it just doesn't have anybody there looking at it. You can put it on Snapchat, but whatever. So really, with Vine being dead, there was just no good place to do that type of stuff other than YouTube. YouTube has just been designed for this type of thing. The fun thing about Vine is they were short. You had to be 6.5 seconds or whatever it was, 6.8 seconds. I forget exactly, where it would break down, but you had to be short. You had to think about what you're saying to just kind of get it really compact to throw it in there. And, I miss not having that platform anymore, but I figured New Year, it was just time to stop. It was an experiment. It was fun while it lasted. But now that it's over, it's just time to move on and do other stuff. So I've been doing a lot more of this live streaming stuff in the past month or so, and I figured why not just keep on rolling with some of this and throwing the stuff out there. So we are going to take a look at some comics today, and we are going to start here with Superman number 14. And as you can see by the many different super people on the front cover, this is a multiverse story. I was actually really excited when I saw the solicitation for the story. I really, really wanted to read this. This is one of the key things I've been looking for this week, and this does not disappoint. This is fun. This sets up with, well, I want to call him Clark Kent, but he's not Clark Kent anymore, right? He's Clark White, because he's using Perry White's old name. And there's another Clark Kent running around in the Rebirth universe, so that can all get a little freaky. But it starts with him. He's driving alone on the road at night, and the Red Sun Superman crashes into his path, and there are these beings chasing after him, trying to consume him. And you find out that there's some creature going through the multiverse, collecting Supermans, and they're not sure why. He just is. They don't know why. It looks like maybe he's stealing their powers. He's eating their powers, so to speak. And we get to see the Justice League. What are they called? Justice League Infinite, Justice League Incarnate. That's what they're called. And they're basically the all these super people that are put on a team from all the different multiverses. If you read Multiplicity by Grant Morrison, first of all, sorry. I don't think that was a very good series. I wish you had read something better. But nonetheless, that's the team that's in here. And we get to see a bunch of different versions of the super characters from different universes, and some you're kind of familiar with. Mary Marvel from Earth 5, you're kind of familiar with her. She's in there. There's even a cameo in this book towards the end from Captain Carrot, which, I mean, that to me right there, a Captain Carrot appearance, that makes it all worthwhile. So very happy with this book. I don't know, should I do numbers anymore? It's not quite. Well, I mean, it's probably a 90. I'd give it 90 out of 100. I really, really liked it. This is one of those, if the story holds up the way it's going, and this is Thomasai, if the story holds up the way it's going, then this is probably going to be one of my favorites for this year. The first chapter is just incredible. I loved it a lot. Okay. We've got our big crossover thing, our big story of the week. I guess I better move that a little bit. There you go. Justice League versus Suicide Squad number 3. And this crossover has been fun. It's action-packed. There's a lot of backstabbing and intrigue and action. And one thing I talked about, if you've been listening to the Comic Book Chronicles podcast, which I do with theclicknation.com, I talked about the fact that this is a weekly series, which helps it to keep from overstaying its welcome. And I think that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind when you have a series like this, is that it's not going to last forever. In fact, it's not going to be one of those things like Civil War where it starts and it goes for, maybe 3 months on schedule, and then it skips and it misses, and it takes a year to get out what should be a 6-month story. This is actually, it's coming out weekly. They've got different artists, writers keeping everything on track. But this is a lot of fun. We learned some things in this book that we didn't know about Suicide Squad before. I think, and I'm just kind of going out on a limb here, but I think the point of this book is to say to all the Justice League fans out there, hey, come read Suicide Squad. And people are going, maybe I didn't like the movie. I never really cared about the book. I don't really want to get into it. But this seems like it's really built around the idea of taking the Justice League and putting them with the Suicide Squad and saying, hey, come check out this book too. And here are the characters that are in it. And you'll probably really like some of them. And it's really kind of fun. And, introduce it to a whole bunch of new readers that way. So I enjoyed it. It's not great, but it is good. Probably an 80 out of 100 on this one. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, we learned some new things. It's not breaking new grounds in the comic industry or anything like that, but it is a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed reading it the past couple of weeks. I think it's one of those things that I'm really going to have no problem sticking with all the way through. I'm trying to find the cover for the next book. See, I'm trying to be smooth over here and pull it up, and it's just taking me forever to try to find it here, which is not smooth. So now you're just watching me look off to the side. So I'm going to give up trying to find it so I can throw it up on the screen and instead just grab it. Here it is, Death of Hawkman. And this is number 4, right? Yeah, number 4. And Death of Hawkman, I don't know what the point of this story is yet. Except I mean, it says death of Hawkman, but does that really mean that the character is going to die? Does that mean he's going to morph into something else? Does that mean someone else is going to take over the role? We still don't know at this point, but really what it is, hey, let's do an outer space story. We've got Adam Strange, we've got Hawkman, Carter Hall, the Thangarian version of him, and let's throw them together and, just see if we can tell an interesting story with them. Here we go. Here's the cover. I can throw the cover up there. There you go. So Death of Hawkman, one of the things that bothered me in the last couple issues is that they did a really good job, I think, of introducing Adam Strange and introducing Hawkman to new readers, making you kind of care about him. But then I don't know why, but it seems like they didn't spend very much time on the villains and making the villains characters that you're going to care about or be worried about or wondering about. They did add Despero into the mix, and that helps because Despero, he's a fun villain. He's a villain that's been around for a very long time in the DC universe. And so, but what they've been trying to do is to make like Adam Strange's wife into someone that you're worried about, make some of the other people question his alliance to his home planet because he's running around with Hawkman and Ran and Thangar are always at war with each other. They don't get along. And it just seemed like they didn't really do enough with those characters for you to care about the fact that they were mad about Adam Strange running around with Hawkman. And they made some threats and stuff. And you don't really know, like, well, who cares? Like, are they really... So this issue basically says, hey, don't worry about that. Now you just have to worry about Despero. And Despero is one of those guys who, he's come this close to beating the Justice League on several occasions, which makes him a guy that you have to worry about. So it's been fun. It's decent. 80 out of 100. Again, it's not breaking any new ground. It's nothing too incredibly special, but it still is a lot of fun, and I am enjoying it. All right. This is another book I've really been looking forward to ever since I heard about the solicits for it, and that is The Fall and Rise of Captain Atom. I've been a fan of Captain Atom for, oh my gosh, how old am I? Pretty old now. Probably 25 years or so I've been a fan of Captain Atom. And so I'm super excited that they're doing this. I loved his New 52 series. I think they did a lot of really neat stuff with that. And not only do I like the character, but this particular series is being written by Cary Bates, which if you're an old-time DC fan, you recognize that name. The dude's like 70 years old. He wrote some of the best Silver Age stories, a lot of multiverse stuff. He's one of those guys from DC during the era of Julius Schwartz, and they would put themselves into the comics as writers on Earth. Having control over the characters in the alternate universe. And there's even one where Cary Bates went to the alternate, to the DC universe, and he was one of the ultimate villains because he could control everything and he knew how things worked and, whatever. So I'm really looking forward to it. And like I said, I like the character. So the main point of this story is when we last saw Captain Atom a couple of years ago, when his series ended, he was becoming ultra powerful. He could see into the past, the present, the future. He could exist in the different time periods at the same time. It was a really weird, metaphysical, screw with your head type of series is what it turned into. And then it got canceled. So it's like, well, here's this guy who was super powerful, super important, and he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. So why haven't we seen more of him? Why haven't we heard more about him? Why did he just disappear? And this part of this book is explaining that, is explaining to you what happened to him and why he's gone and why you haven't seen a lot out of him. But then it also explains why is he still important to the DC universe? Why is he still a threat in some ways? Why is he still a powerful hero? So it just sets up a lot of interesting stuff with the character. And it's the artwork is really good in this. The story is good. The artist is someone whose name I'm not familiar with right offhand. Will Conrad. Like, that name sounds familiar. I didn't look it up on Google. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on everybody who draws comics, but the name sounds familiar. Will Conrad. I'm sure I've seen him in other stuff, but it looks nice. It's got a nice, clean feel to it in this book. I really enjoyed it a lot. Looking forward to see. And the ending of this particular issue is one of those endings where someone like me, it's like a swerve out of left field, and it's setting up. Well, I can't really say what it might be setting up without spoiling what that ending is. But let me just say, it's a lot of. I really enjoyed this one. Go 85, not quite 90 or 95, not like, something that's going to blow you away, but better, a little better than some of those average books. 85 out of 100 on that one. That was pretty good. Now we come to one of the biggest disappointments of the week, and it really kind of hurts me to say this, but Batman 14. Tom King. I love Tom King. I do. He's a great writer, but I've had a lot of problems with his work on Batman. He's been having a very hard time, I think, with this book being one of those that comes out twice a month, where he's been really stretching the story out so that it covers the same amount of ground every month, but he just goes into way more detail, which I guess is a fine experiment to try, but I like stories that move and get somewhere, and he's had a real problem doing that in this book. I mean, there have been some great things, don't get me wrong. There have been some great character moments and great storytelling beats along the way, but overall, it's just kind of disappointing to me. And this book is especially disappointing to me because this is the reunion of the guys who do Sheriff of Babylon. Mitch Gerads, the artist, Tom King, the writer. In fact, I've got right back here, Sheriff of Babylon, one of my favorite books of all time. And so the two of them coming back together, they worked together on Punisher. If you read the last Punisher series from Marvel, fantastic stuff, great stuff. The two of them reunite on this book, and it's a soap opera Catwoman love story. And there's a part in the middle where it actually gets funny. Kite Man makes a reappearance, for those of you hoping. Mad Monk makes an appearance. You get some fun stuff in there. But then the book really comes down to the whole forbidden love between Catwoman and Batman, which, who cares? I've never cared for the Catwoman love angle. It's just one of those things that always kind of felt wrong to me, but whatever. But then it makes the same mistake that Catwoman #1 did. You've got topless Catwoman and Batman, topless Batman, ripping off each other's clothes and making out on a rooftop. You've got this shot of them in the moonlight lying naked on this rooftop surrounded by these diamonds that she's stolen. And just like, come on, it's like, I read superhero comics for the action and the sci-fi and the great over-the-top elements, not for Days of Our Lives. Like, that's not what I want out of this book. So this is just a huge, huge disappointment for me. There's really... The artwork is nice, and I guess the humor that's in the middle of the story is interesting, but otherwise, I really don't like the issue. There's really almost nothing about that issue that I'm really going to care about. So, I mean, honestly, that would be like 50 out of 100. If you're buying the series to complete the series because you want the collection, you hate having a break in your run, then you're going to pick it up. But honestly, I'd skip it. If you're really not that bothered by having holes in the collection and you like having just, nice story arcs, get the 5 issues of one complete story, you don't need it. And it's just not that good. And I'm going to take some hatred from you guys out there. You can email me, dirt@popculturenetwork.com. Tell me how wrong I am, how much you hate me. But nonetheless, there we go. All right, we've got Justice League #12. And, excuse me, Max Lord returning. This is the new Max Lord in the Rebirth storyline, which is very much like the old Max Lord that we saw in the DC universe. There are appearances from Checkmate, that organization, if you remember them. It talks about his life, talks about him pushing people, talks about him fighting back against Amanda Waller. This is the Justice League versus Suicide Squad tie-in. And it's good. You know, if you didn't know anything about Max Lord, this will give you the background that you need. But again, he's tied in more with Suicide Squad. And actually, if you go back to the Justice League versus Suicide Squad that came out this week, it talks about his ties to Suicide Squad and the characters that he runs around with in here. And so this has more to do with that than it has to do with Justice League stuff. So again, now I know one thing though, the new Justice League of America series that's coming out is actually going to use some of the characters from Suicide Squad in the new Justice League of America team book. So it looks like that this setup is also going to plant the seeds for the new Justice League of America series. And so this again ties into that. They're just, I guess, bringing the Suicide Squad and Justice League closer together. But again, it feels like this is more of a, hey, pay attention to what's going on over there, as opposed to, hey, here's Justice League. Watch Justice League like Justice League. Read Justice League. You're not really getting that in this book. So, I mean, 75 out of 100. I'd probably rate it higher if this was in Suicide Squad as opposed to Justice League, but it loses points because this is supposed to be a Justice League book, and it really doesn't feel like it. Even though Max Lord was a member of the Justice League in the old DC universe and has ties to a lot of the characters and the stuff that's going on in the Justice League part of the DC universe, but it doesn't feel like it really fits with everything going on in Rebirth. And that's kind of been a problem with Justice League. It just hasn't been the greatest series since Rebirth, although probably didn't help that the Doom War or Darkseid War storyline in the old Justice League before Rebirth happened was one of the best stories of last year. So, all right. We got a couple books from Marvel, and so we'll jump to those real quick. I would talk about Nova right now, except my son grabbed it and ran off with it, and I haven't gotten it back yet, so I haven't had a chance to read it. When I get a chance to read it, I'll probably talk about it on Comic Book Chronicles. So make sure you watch for that Thursday night from the Click Nation. But right now, we do have one of my favorite Marvel books over the last several months, and that is Moon Knight. I love this new Moon Knight book. It is great. It's done a lot with taking all of the different aspects of Moon Knight over the last few years and weaving them together into one storyline. I got a cough here. Hold on. Tried to shield the microphone as best I could. Sorry about that. I need a cough button. Oh, I have one, don't I? I have a mute button right here. Yeah, you didn't hear anything, did you? Because there is a mute button right there. I totally forgot about it. All right. Nonetheless, this story playing with all of these different aspects of Moon Knight and trying to fold them together into one cohesive storyline has been super awesome. There's been a lot of really great stuff going on with the different personalities, the different aspects of who Moon Knight has been, and of course, dealing with this strange Egyptian god that supposedly gave him his powers. And I've really enjoyed the structure of the series, although I was disappointed at the end of the last issue because it looked like all of these other aspects of his personality were going away, and now he was just going to go fight this Egyptian god, and it was going to be like a punch, blam, blam, and that would be it. That's not what we get. What we get is something a lot more awesome. It does go back to Mark Spector as a young boy, showing some things in his past, tying into Khonshu, I think it's how you pronounce it, and how it comes into the modern story. But the book throws in this twist about halfway through, 3/4 the way through. And I'll just say it'll make sense when you read it, but basically it just turns the whole story upside down. You'll get it when you read it. But it's a lot of fun. It's, again, Jeff Lemire has done this great job of playing with really what turns out to be insanity on Mark Spector's part. And when you're a normal person trying to deal with super dimensional beings and things like that. The human mind has a hard time processing it, dealing with it, coping with it, and this just does a really fun job of showing his madness. It's really great. I just can't. I wish I could say more, but I don't want to spoil what happens in this for people who read it. There are, since it is in the past, though, there are some neat things where we see him as a kid, and you can see like the old He-Man slime pit, and you can see some Star Wars stickers stuck on the wall and an A-Team poster, and really go through and be like, oh wow, all that great stuff from the '80s I remember from when I was a kid, and that's just something thrown in from the artwork. But this is another probably 90 out of 100. This is a possible candidate for book of the week. This and Superman are both up there, really close. Just great stuff that came out this week. And then we've got Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan, I've had kind of a love-hate the past couple months with it. For the most part, I don't like the X-Men. I don't like X-Men books. I like the Byrne Claremont stuff, and I've got the giant, I forget what it's called, but it was like that $100 hardcover that had the Byrne Claremont run collected together, and it was great. But outside of that, I've never really liked the X-Men all that much. But I really like Old Man Logan. I like that he's the fish out of water. He's from an alternate universe. But the past few months, they played around with some different artists coming to fill in. They had a storyline with Dracula and the Howling Wolves of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think that's Howling Commandos. I forget but anyway, nonetheless, I've always hated that group. They threw them in the book and whatever. But this goes back to the goodness that we've come to expect and understand from the book. We've got our original artist back, Sorrentino. Anyway. And this is another Jeff Lemire, isn't it? Yeah, it sure is. It's another Jeff Lemire book from Marvel. And I like I said, I love the fact that he came from an alternate universe, an alternate future. For a while there, he was trying to keep it from happening. He figures out now it won't happen, but there's still ripples and shadows from his future coming back to haunt him, seeing things in the modern time that he knows are going to lead to something bad down the line, or I guess could lead to something bad down the line. But this goes back to showing the wasteland and showing some of the history of the stuff that he went through and some of the stuff that he had to fight with and get involved with. And there may even be a little hint of maybe he's going crazy, or maybe it's just a memory, or there are some weird things going on. But this has been a lot of fun. Probably an 85 out of 100 on this one. This is a good book. If you haven't been reading Old Man Logan, I'd suggest you pick up the first trade. That's going to have a good story in it. You can probably skip a couple of those that come after the trade and then hop back on with this particular storyline. It's good stuff. I really like that series. So that's the stuff I've been able to read so far today. Take a look at that we could talk about here quickly. But I want to know what you guys are looking forward to this week. So you can leave a comment on this page on YouTube, or you can send me an email, dirt@popculturenetwork.com, or you can send me a tweet. It's at PCN_dirt. I'd say check out my Vine, but not anymore because those are gone. Instagram, I don't even know what I'm going to do with that. I may just abandon it at this point. I don't know. I kind of hate to, but it's just it's hard to see the point in it, especially if I can do a long form video like this and throw it out there. So let me know what you guys think about some of the books that are coming out this week, and if there are any new social platforms you think I should check out. Like I said, Tout is probably the closest thing to getting to Vine, but nobody uses it, so I mean, I don't know. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.